to another segment of Veterans Did You Know? I hope you've been watching this. If you haven't, please go back and watch the 2 previous segments. I'm here today, Dave Eling with the County Department of Veterans Affairs, and I'm here today with Wes Spyke. And Wes is a pastor of the Common Ground Mission. Common Ground Mission.
Common Ground Mission.
Common Ground Mission.
We're down ground zero. We're down to everybody.
And Wes has been reliving some of his experiences, his military experiences, and we grew up together, as I said, in the projects. And we're talking about reaching out. We're talking about this group of veterans out there that have maybe missed out on the spiritual aspect of it. And it's kind of tough. Veterans, number one, don't talk about their military experience, usually unless it's with another vet. And sometimes the spiritual thing is that also, whether they're embarrassed or they're not sure of it, or they're not a wannabe, but not totally committed yet, or something. So that's sometimes it's a little issue to sit down with. I've never met anybody besides Wes that felt so comfortable with, was because you just talk on this level, and the next thing you know, you're talking about it and you feel comfortable with it, and you say, maybe that is a part of my life that's missing. Maybe that's the answer to why I'm not doing this. Or they may have gone to a church, a formal religious environment, and you're listening to this stuff and you say, okay, this reinforces what I learned as a kid, but what about this thing that happened to me? And then you try to reach out to the clergy and they say, you're talking war stuff. I don't think I know too much about that. So you're cut adrift. You walk out there without getting the answers, and even sometimes you resent the church. So I turned to you, and my marriage still dissolved, and nobody talked to me, and I still got this on my back, and I got my life fell apart. Where were you? And sometimes it takes, you get a little gray hair and a little old, a few scars on your head. You finally come around to thinking, there is life beyond this, and that's the thing, Wes. I think I really want to, is to be able to reach out to a fellow veteran and tell them, say, if you're grappling with this, and your organization is non-denominational.
Yes.
It's
Christian-based. It's faith-based, Christian faith-based, but it is undenominational.
Yeah, I mean, And I've talked about this before. And on the base, the military bases, I always liked going to chapel because it was non-denominational.
Yes.
I mean, they had the Jewish services, and they had the Catholic service, and they had just the Protestant, if you will, whatever else. And you just went in there and you heard, whatever else, and especially coming back from a war zone, wherever else, you felt like, I got atoned for something, or this is what I did, I shouldn't have done, but they ordered me to do it. If I didn't do it, so you're trying to grapple with this, wrestling with this,
Yes.
How's this going to all work out? And it doesn't for a long time, and it may never. But like you said earlier, was asking for forgiveness.
Yes.
You got to quit beating yourself up. Take
that's a must. You have to stop that, Dave. And here you are. You got this veteran that's caught between a rock and a hard place. You say, now I'm joining the military now, and this officer told me, or even a non-com, I want you to go on out there and I want you to take care of business and all this stuff.
And if you didn't,
and then God says, I don't want you to do this, but I want you to understand something here. This isn't an issue of when he says, thou shalt not kill. It doesn't mean in the defense of your country. What it means is that thou shalt not murder.
Yeah.
And does that include what do they call that when you set up a perimeter? And they play with your heads and all this other kind of stuff. And you need to understand there isn't anything that Christ can't forgive. Nothing, absolutely nothing, other than blaspheming the Holy Spirit. And that's a whole different ballgame in and of itself. But
and I think the vets have done that a few times, probably, but we won't touch that.
Well, and here's the thing, and Dave, did I wrestle with it? Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, sure.
And I still wrestle with it. And I'm not exempt. Does it mean that it all gets gone away in all this business? Not necessarily. Not in one, not in one hitch. Doesn't mean that Jesus can't do it. It's just as, are you willing to do it?
Let him do it.
Are you willing to relinquish that and forgive yourself? And therein lies the problem. So as these veterans we're talking to are coming back and they're saying, well, Wes, I've got this problem, I've got that problem, my marriage isn't so much anymore, and all this other kind of stuff. And I said, how does your wife feel about it? Well, that's what we're talking about, my wife. And I said, well, it's not an issue so much with your wife. I said, it's you and your wife.
Yeah,
and I said, you have to understand this too. I said, you're not the guy that came back or the person that came back. And I know there are some women that went over there, and I don't want to downplay them.
No.
We had wonderful nurses and doctors over there and all that business.
And we have them coming back now.
Yes.
14% of the fighting force in Iraq and Afghanistan, 14% are female.
Well, here's a new issue that's coming back, and you and I talked about this,
Females
about
with post-traumatic stress.
female post-traumatic stress, and we'll talk about the pecking order here for a minute, but I don't want to lose my thought because I don't hold on to them too long. And I don't know, is it Agent Orange or what? Something. But where was I with this anyway, Dave? Anyway, we were. So you have to remember when you go off and you see this psychological trauma, your eyes see it, you smell it, you taste it at times, all this business, and they talk about people getting blown up and people getting shot and all this other kind of stuff, and you see that, and your brain records all that, and you're thinking, my gosh, what do I do with this information? Well, it gets stored in your memory banks, and it just doesn't even have to be a combat vet. It can be due to a very traumatic automobile or rape or something that's very traumatic, so anyway, as we were dealing with these veterans, I thought, well, wait a minute, we're talking about. He's talking about his wife all the time, and I said, but what you have to understand is that are you the same guy that came back from there? No, but on the other hand, she doesn't know what you saw.
Yeah, or what you're grappling with.
Or what you're grappling with, and she won't know because she wasn't in there. So what we're trying to do, Lil and myself, is to interface with these veterans and kind of feel them out where they are and dealing with them spiritually if we can. Mm-hmm. There's also an organization in town. It's called Bridge to Life Ministries, and they deal with marriages, whether you want to make your marriage better or whether you want to hang on to your marriage. And it is faith-based as well. And they go deeper into that than what we would. But at least we can be that link between us and them and say, well, this is what you might want to look into. For understanding your wife a little better, understanding yourself, and her to understand you too. So we didn't see a whole lot out there that was geared toward the healing of the husband and the wife, the veteran and the wife, or the veteran and the husband.
Yeah. Well, see, the VA didn't it? If you came medically to the VA as a wounded, whether it be mentally or physically, and it turned out to be mentally. Well, you go see this mental health counselor, a psychiatrist, but the wife or the husband, the spouse, was never a part of that counseling. Because the VA said, no, sorry, if we wanted you to have a spouse, we would have issued you one. And we didn't issue you one, so you wouldn't got it on your own. It's your responsibility.
Yeah,
so they wouldn't do that. But now with this, now they are. Now they're doing, the VA is finally realizing, for this individual to heal, the mate, the spouse, the significant other, the ones that are close to the kids, the mom and dads, that family environment. Because when you come home to your family, all of a sudden your family's at Christmas time looking at you like, Wes, boy, you're not wound so tight anymore.
Oh, yeah.
What the heck did they do to you, or what's wrong with you?
Sure.
Remember, what's wrong with you, son? Snap out of it, get over it, get back to work, and
And that's easy to say. That's easy to say. No, just get over it.
If only I could.
Yeah.
And, like your famous, and how's that working for you?
Yeah. How's that working for you?
That's not doing
I mean, that fence that they want you to hop over is a 10-story building.
With barbed wire on top of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You leave body parts and you try to get over it. Kind of like Catholic Center. Remember, we used to
sneak over the gates. Yeah.
And that's so important is the spouse part of it. So if you can sit down with a vet and just start some dialogue, and you let the spouse be there. And I did this with my father-in-law one time. He and I would just start talking like you and I talking. My wife, his only child, and his only granddaughter was sitting there, and his wife of 50, 60 something years. And Chuck and I were talking, and he started relating stuff that happened to him in World War II.
Sure.
About being run over and this and that. And the family was just stunned silence. And then Chuck got up and started eating, dove into his food. Navy guy, food's first, bell rang, the seat, And their family said, we've never heard that. We have all of our lives, we've never heard Dad say any of that to anybody. And I said, nor would he, But it sometimes just takes, okay, I can talk about with you, and there's a peripheral over here, and they're starting to get it. Well, that gives the spouse a little insight. Say, oh, I don't know how many kids that have come through and gone through some post-traumatic stress counseling and said, now I know why Dad is the way he was. I kind of understand. I get it now. But when we were kids growing up,
sure,
Dad was a nutcase sometimes, and just a raving maniac, or the best thing since crunchy peanut butter. But it was always like to one extreme to the other. We didn't know. But what Dad didn't know. Dad didn't know what was, and they still don't know. I said, I don't get it.
And a lot of that, Dave, today is comforted with drugs and alcohol and all that stuff because nobody understands.
Yeah,
So it's a self-medication.
You talk about recording that stuff in your mind.
Sure.
Well, if you're busy, then you can keep that recorder on the pause button.
Yep.
But as soon as you go to sleep or you relax a little bit, starts it back up again. It's supposed to start playing, all that stuff starts playing over again. And
Dave, I'll tell you what, there's times, even today, my wife can come in the middle of the night, and we have a bow window in our home and a love seat there in front of that. And I can't tell you how many times, probably at least 4 times a week, I'll be at that love seat looking out at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Just sitting looking.
Just sit there looking out. And you wonder what's the matter with you? Don't you work hard enough during the day to get tired or something like that and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
No, you don't understand. They're just things that that if you go to sleep, you're going to think about this again, or you're going to think about it. It's in the quiet times when these issues surface.
Demons come back.
The demons come back. That's exactly correct. And only through those times that you can that you can ask the Lord to come back. Please help me through this. I know that that I went to war and all this business, and I'm having a hard time dealing with this. Lord, can you kind of help me through this and all that business? And He never fails at that. But it's a thing. If I don't show you how to grab onto this life-saving ring, you're not even going to know it's there. And do I owe it to them? We all owe it to each other. And
That's helping vets.
yeah, if that's helping vets, that's exactly
That's
right.
kind of cliche people say it sometimes, but it is. It's the truth.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
because you trust that person with your life. You did, and now you should be able to trust them with the rest of your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to take another quick break right here. Hope you're enjoying this, and you'll stay tuned, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Thanks, bye.